YouTube, welcome back to a brand new video, man. On my previous video, I got a comment asking me to do a video on how to make melodic beats for LIL DURK, so let's get right into it, man. Before we get into the beat, I want to shout out my boy Audio Hitters. I actually made this beat with him, so yeah, let's get right into the deconstruction, man. All right, so this beat is laid down in C minor in 154 BPM, and I'd say for these type of beats, 150 to 160 is the perfect BPM. Since that BPM range got a little tempo to it, but it's not too fast, you feel me? All right, so when making beats like these, you of course want to start out with the piano, since that's what's being used most in these type of beats. Then I laid this down right here, so I'm gonna play it first by itself and then deconstruct it. And this melody is the perfect example of what kind of emotion you want to go for when laying down melodies. It's not too emotional, but it's not too aggressive at the same time. So the sweet spot is really in the middle of those two. All right, so I basically started out with this melody right here. Take the root notes out and the other notes. This is what I started out with. So yeah, that's fairly simple. Start out on the root note on the C right here. Next I put a G on top of it and pitch it down. Kind of delete those two notes a little bit to create a rhythm. After that, I place a D sharp right here, and that actually builds a C minor chord right here. But I basically delete some notes a little bit. After that, to add some more bounce and some more tempo to it, I added these little accent notes to it. This D, the D sharp, and G right here. After that, as you can see, copied it straight over. But to add some variety to it, I put this G sharp to A sharp right here. After that, copied it over again. And once again, to make it sound a little bit more unique, I pitched this G right here down to F. So yeah, that's the melody I started out with. After that, I wanted to add some more emotion to it. So what I did is I added these root notes to it. And these really add the emotion to the melody. As you can see, they basically go down from C to A sharp to G sharp. And all the way down to F right here. And if you want your root notes to sound emotional, that's a great tip. Make sure to stay in the scale and go down one note in the scale every time, like every root note, if that makes sense. So as you can see right here, we basically go down one note in the scale and it lands on A sharp. Do the same right here. Go down to G sharp, and we could do the same thing right here with this G sharp. So if we go down one, we land on G. But like I explained in most of my videos, half notes next to each other in the scale, so this G sharp and this G create a lot of tension, and we don't really want that when making emotional melodies. So I decided to skip the G and go down one more to F, and that sounds way better, way more emotional. So yeah, I'm gonna give y'all some more context with the melody playing. So let's say we would keep the root notes the same. On C would sound like this. C again. That would work, but it sounds too dark to be melodic. So instead of that, make the root notes go down, and that creates a lot more emotion. Down even more. G sharp again. And that makes it sound way more melodic and adds a lot more depth to it. So after I had that melody with the root notes laid down, I added this counter melody up top to add some high frequencies to it, which sound like this. There's really no theory behind these notes. As you can see, basically followed the root note right here to C, pitched it up an octave, added this G in the middle, which we also added right here. So I basically just played around, experimented a little bit till something sounded right. As you can see, started out with this, copied it over again, and to add some variety to it, added these two notes right here. And also added this G up top with these two accent notes right in front of it. So these two melodies right here are pretty much identical. All right, so for the effects on the piano, started out with this EQ right here, cutting some of the sub lows out since you don't really hear them and they can only clash with the 808 later on in the beat. So yeah, I made sure to cut those out. And after that, I opened up this reverb from Arturia. I believe it's new. I just recently got it and I really like it so far. So yeah, I used that to add more depth and some ambience to it. After that, to make it sound a little bit more vintage, went into RC20 and I got the Vinyl 2 preset right here. And after those two effects, open up another EQ to kind of clear up the signal a little bit, and I boosted some of the high mids. All right, so after the piano, I added some vocals to it. I know it says expand right here, but I actually opened up Honestly and I went into the human voices category, and I got this preset right here, just like this. Sounds dope. Basically laid down 4 notes. That's what that sounds like. So I added these to add even more emotion to it. No particular reason why I chose these notes. I just played around a little bit till something sounded right. For the effects on that vocal, start out with the EQ again to kind of clear it up a little bit, lower some of the low mids, and once again cut out the sub lows. And after that EQ, opened up shaper box to pan it out from left to right, and panning it out really gives the vocal its own little spot in the sample since it's panning from left to right and not in the middle. And since the vocal is panning out from left to right, it really makes the sample sound less busy since the piano is pretty much directly in the middle throughout the whole sample. So that's why I panned it out from left to right. But of course you want it to blend in with the piano too, so that's why I added the same reverb preset to it, and that's pretty much it. Alright, so after those two melodies, I wanted to add some more ambience to the sample, so I opened up Synology and I got the AX Mood Strings preset with the piano. That's what that sounds like. Alright, so the way I laid that down, went into the keyscape melody we started out with, copied it over, pasted it into the Synology preset. And as you can see, I pretty much lined up all the notes I used in the piano to build chords. So we got the C right here, then the G, the C, the G again, then the C again. And as you can see, it's exactly the same in the second chord, lined up the notes, same in the third, in the fourth, and the fifth chord as well. So instead of building new chords for the strings, like I said, basically just copied it over and lined everything up to build chords out of them. So this is what we ended up with. The string preset by itself already sounded really full, so I just sent it to a mixer track and cut some lows out of it, and that's it for the effects. Alright, so after that, I went into expand, and I got the Celeste preset, and I basically added some ear candy to it, some accent notes that follow the scale. So with the piano and the strings, that sounds like this. That's very minimal, but I just added that to give the listeners some new melodies to listen to later on in the beat, so I only added it in the last 8 bars of the verse. Alright, so for the effects on that Celeste, started out with the EQ, cutting some of the harsh mid tones out, and later on I boosted some of the high mids to make it sound a little bit more fresh. Next I put a delay on it, this preset right here. Also put a fruity chorus on it to play around with the stereo image a little bit. After that, I added the same reverb preset to it to blend it in with the other melodies. And lastly, just cleaned it up with an EQ a little bit. Alright, so lastly, went into Atmosphere again, and I got the Growler Moog Bass preset, and basically just followed the root notes and laid this sub bass melody down. And that makes the melody sound a lot more full, and just add some low end to the sample, since we didn't really have that before. Next I rendered it out. And for the effects, I put nothing on it. Alright, so for the drums, all the drum sounds I used in this beat, like always, came from my rookie season drum kit right here. Got some 808s, bonus loops, claps, effects, hi-hats, kicks, open hats, perks, and snares in the kit. So yeah, for the people who haven't got the kit yet, man, these are all the sounds you need to lay down hard drums, and all the sounds I personally use in all of my beats too. So yeah, for the drums on this beat, start out with the crash, hitting on every 8 bars throughout the whole beat, as well as a clap and a hi-hat. That's what that sounds like. So after the hi-hat and the clap, laid this 808 pattern down, which follows the root notes, as well as the kick matching the 808. That's what that sounds like. So yeah, like I said, 808 follows the root notes of the piano. Started out on C, A sharp, G sharp, and F. So for the 808 pattern, kept it fairly simple. Just made sure it went well with the melody. To spice it up a little bit, I added some double notes, and that's pretty much it. After that, to add even more bounce to it and to fill in some empty gaps, we added this counter snare, which lines up with the claps on some notes. So yeah, that sounds like this. And the counter snare really adds another layer onto the clap, but we also added some notes that didn't match up with the clap to, like I said, add more bounce to it. And after we had that laid down, lastly, added this open hat to make the kick in the 808 hit just a little bit harder, and once again to add more bounce to it and fill in some empty gaps. So that's what that sounds like. As as you can see for these last notes, make sure to play around with the velocities and also with the panning. So we pan these two out to the left and these two out to the right to add some more dimension to the drums. And lastly, to spice up the beat a little bit, add some transitions and some risers to it, and that's pretty much it, man. Alright, so that's how I make melodic beats for people like Lil Durk, man. Like always, I want to thank y'all for watching. Hope y'all learned something from the video. Also make sure to let me know in the comments what y'all trying to see next on the channel, if you have any suggestions or feedback. Also make sure to subscribe to the channel, man. We just hit 7.5k, so I want to thank y'all for that. But yeah, make sure to follow me on Instagram, check out my kits, and that's it for me today, man. So we'll catch you on the next video. Y'all stay safe, man.